What's up, everybody? This is Curtis, Team Hero. And this is gonna be a small Destiny Hero deck profile. It's nothing big. The deck's not the greatest, but it's pretty fun and matches the theme. It's good for a start. I guess I'll start the main deck. It's pretty apparent. The ratios are kind of strange for this deck because there's a lot of monsters, and they're all kind of key. But there's specific monsters you don't want to see all the time. So there's a lot of 2-ups. But you play 3 malicious. Kind of self-explanatory. You need stuff for poly for the monster itself, and he gives you fuel for whatever you need. Plus it's dark, match change, whatever you need really. 2 Neos. Well, with Dystopia, really need to get your attack multipliers going, so you can actually start getting effects. Kind of the gimmick of the deck. This is the easiest way to do it, honestly. Essentially honest, but it's a quick effect, so it's better. But at 2, play 2 of this. Honestly, it's more or less here for Destiny Hero fodder, and it's one of the better options for Destiny Heroes. It's not the greatest card in the world, but it helps you make rank 4 plays that you need, and it's also just another name. It's also a lower target. I have this as well. Dynatag, he's not the best hero in the deck, but by any means. But it's another option for stat multiplier. He's not the greatest, but you still need him. Like I said, your options aren't very good to begin with. And just have another stat boost isn't the worst either.
Yeah, the damage isn't bad either.
Yeah, it's not that bad. And I would say it's arguably the best card in the deck. And oddly enough, you only played it too. It's one of those cards where you really want to see it early, but the later the game goes on, the worse it gets. Adding poly is nice and all, but you're not going to make Dystopia over and over and over and over again in a deck like this. You probably honestly want to make Dystopia at least once or twice, if twice a game. I wouldn't even say I go that far. Because if you can't win in a couple of turns this deck, you're gonna burn out on resources. That's just heroes. That's always been heroes. So I only played it 2. You really only need it early, and there's so many ways of getting it out that you never want to open 3, because you really don't want to see multiple in your hand. Now, normally most hero builds play 3 Shadow Mist, but it kind of goes along with the Vision hero. She's really good, and you really need her, but again, you don't want her in hand, and you don't want to keep seeing them over and over again. You only ever need 1 or 2 a game anyways, and you're never going to really have normal summon this unless you really have to, and if you have to normal summon this, you're probably in a bad spot. I also play 2 Celestia. This card's amazing. It's a little slow, but it's one of your few ways of gathering resources back. I mean, it sucks you can't do it to turn that scent. However, it's really important to the deck because, like I said, you have to use at least 2 more resources just to poly into a card that requires a 3rd card. This deck is, like I said, more of a gimmick, and having a gimmick that can actually gather its resources in any way is decent. I wouldn't say good. I would say it's decent. And oddly enough, the last hero I played is Bowman. In any hero build, I always make sure I play at least 1 Bowman because normally you're gonna be taking this to a locals. You're not really or like a box tournament. You're probably not taking this to a regional, unless you're really confident with it. And in a lot of locals, people tend to play, and I notice, more trap heavy decks because, well, it's just if you're not playing meta, you're probably playing a slower deck, and a lot of the slower decks require you to have really good traps. So always have an option. Heroes normally have unless you have like Acid or Azure, you really have a hard time with board removal. If you don't get to go first in a format that requires going first, you really have a hard time. So always play the 1 Bulb Menace in case it comes up every once in a while. And then I play 2 Summoner Monk. Like I said, you really need to see either Shadow Mist or Vision Hero as early as possible. And he also gets out really any hero you need. So. But you can get Bulbman if you need him. You can make rank 4 play you need. There's a lot of dead spells. You have a lot of dead spells in this. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say dead. That's a bad wording. You have a lot of spells in your hand, and some you won't need. And Summoner Monk always have options because you're playing hero, so you play 400,000 spells. But really, he's only in here just to get, like I said, either rank 4 plays or mid to early, or just kick off your start if you really need him. Because sometimes you won't open everything you need. It's essentially just playing 2 extra copies, whatever. Then on the spells, I play 3. Destiny Draw. It's a Destiny Hero deck. The best part, honestly, is whenever you have a malicious, which is kind of, or let's see, malicious or this, one of these two, in hand. Really, the draw two and having something either to continue to play or set up off of the day draw is so good. I really enjoy it. I like it a lot. I wouldn't cut it anything more. I would always play 3. Sorry. I also play 3 mass change. You don't play mass change second. There's no reason to. Mass change. I was thinking about actually cutting this down to 2. Because I never really use 3, but I don't really have to always search it either, so that's probably why I'm keeping it at 3, just so I don't have to go out of my way to find it. But if you find room, or you need room in your deck, I mean, you could try cutting this to 2. I wouldn't recommend it. It is a possibility in my head, but you really, really need to see it, and it's an extra spell for Summoner Monk. I play, sadly, 3 Polymerization. I hate playing Poly in any deck. It's really slow. But this deck, obviously, you need it for Dystopia. It sucks, but, you know, it's here. And Vision Hero can search it. So, it's not the worst. 3 lore. Everyone, 99% of the deck is dark. There's not much else to ask for. Draw cards, draw cards, draw cards. Why not? I only play 2 of this. You only want to see it early. You never want to open multiples, because you want to be able to activate them. It's kind of dead. I hate the card to begin with. 4K is a hefty steep for a deck that loses if you clear the board. But you really need it, sadly. Then I play 1 Raigeki, 1 Dark Hole, 1 Instant Fusion, 1 Soul Charge, 1 Foolish, 1 Rhoda. These are all just really strong one-offs. Sometimes you just need the extra 4. Even in Norden's band, I still play Rare Fish, just because sometimes it's really hard to get the extra monster, and just being able to push it just a little bit farther than have something to back up Dystopia is nice sometimes. And also, the Dark Hole and Raigeki, I play that too. One of each, obviously, because, like I said, if you go second, this deck has a really hard time entering boards that are already currently made. The deck's a lot better at stunning an opponent than it is entering a board. So that just kind of gets you a get out of jail free card, essentially.
Another thing with the Instant Fusion and Rare Fish, if you actually play the build with the Bahamut Shark, that's pretty good too, because you play the Bubble Man. So a lot of times you can make that play even if it is, you know, a little bit more rare.
Yeah, that was really good. I don't have a Bahamut Shark or a Toad currently, but if you actually have one, I would recommend doing that as well. That's really good. The Toad with Dystopia would make it a lot harder than, or even Dark Wall Toad. Like, both of those cards are going to be problematic regardless of what formats you're in. And then Foolish is Foolish. You have 2 cards. Well, actually, almost every card in the deck is relevant in the grave. You have Rhoda, that's one of them, the Soul Charge. Soul Charge is amazing, especially if you get open first. You're able to make such a large board. It's insane. And the last 3 cards I play is Double Strike and Warning. Yeah, and I understand Twin Twister's a card, so playing 3 traps kind of sucks. But if they don't have it, and you can set up a decent board, it becomes a huge problem. And that's all for the main deck. For the extra deck, I played 2 Dystopia. Like I said, you'll never need more than 2. If you're making 3 is an issue. The deck isn't the greatest, and even though this deck is kind of gimmicked towards this card, it's not the best card. It's really not. It's a good card. It's really good. It's free disruption, but it requires you to actually have something else beforehand, and that's not always the greatest.
For making 3, you're probably winning anyway, because why would they let you make a 3rd one for no reason?
Yeah, if you can make a 3rd one, you probably should have just made Dark Claw, because if you're making, or like if you had the option of getting 3 polys at any time, you could have just got a mass change off of Shadow Mist instead, honestly. Speaking of Shadow Mist, I played 2 Dark Claw. This card's never going to be bad. This card is insane. Ripping cards out of your hand, out of your opponent's hand, and banishing stuff is detrimental in a game, especially like this where Graveyard is usually like so reliant now, because the game it's progressing into a state where having resources regardless of where it is important, because every card you have is now a resource rather than just your hand, and it's crazy. This card is dumb. I play 2 of that, and then for the other heroes, I play 1 Ab-Zero. Ab-Zero is insane too. It's not as prominent. It's kind of more of a situational card, but it's really nice when you can go Ab-Zero off the Bowman and then mass change the Ab-Zero into Acid and just clear out the entire board. I love that. It doesn't come often, but just having that option is awesome. On key, sometimes your opponent is just gonna have a bad hand. It happens, it's Yugioh. Or you're able to, or if you have like a Dark Hole or Regeki, it's still heroes. So you have a lot of potential to OTK, and on key makes that possible. Like I said, I play one acid. Now you could easily cut the Bug Man and acid if you wanted to. I just personally feel like having the options is important in this deck, because you're not always gonna be playing from ahead, and this deck has a hard time, like I said, coming from behind. And this really helps us set that up. And if you're always scared, like if Ab-Zero is gonna die and you want to flash in acid anyways, they lose so much more off of killing the Ab-Zero than they would just letting it go, honestly. And yeah, and I did mean Ab-Zero. I don't mean the acid, because if you're gonna mass change the Ab-Zero and they're gonna stop that, they still have to deal with the acid anyway, so they're just gonna lose more resources than it's worth unless it's a strike. Alright, and a warning. I had one rare fish. Rank 4. And then for the 4s, Topia Lightning. This is still really good. You still sadly need this. I would say as long as this game exists, you're gonna need, at least for a while anyways, this is gonna be more or less a staple. Especially in the upcoming format, honestly, it's gonna be harder to do it, but I definitely feel like you're still gonna, there's gonna be a lot more boss monsters in the game, and you're still gonna need a way of answering it, sad as that is, so.
With the amount of large boards, have you ever considered playing Prime?
Yeah, if I had extra deck space, I would. This is a really, like, if you wanted to cut some stuff, there's a lot of things you can cut, personally, but preference-wise, I just didn't have anything I wanted to cut, because everything I use, I've used multiple times. It's not like, oh, this card's only come up in a certain situation. I usually use everything in the extra deck. But like I said, extra deck mostly, other than the fusions, I would say is optional. There's always that one card some people don't use, and you definitely add the Prime in. It's not a deal. And the Prime is really good. If you have deck space, I definitely recommend it. One Castel, it's still Castel. I love Castel. I've always been an advocate, especially whenever Castel first started seeing more popularity, and people started cutting 1-on-1. I really liked when people started playing 2 Castel, but time has changed, and it's us remembering the extra deck, and he's not as relevant, but I definitely would play him over 1-on-1 at any time. One Diamond Dyer, there's always sometimes it's going to be that one card you're scared of, and it's going to stop you from going off, such as a warning or strike, and if you can make the extra resource to protect the board, you might as well. One Dweller. This card is I feel like it's going to be good for a while. There's not going to be every time where a deck won't have at least some card going off in the grave. I feel like this game's progressed to a point where if a deck's going to be good, it's going to have some graveyard relevance regardless. Which is kind of scary to think, but this card, I don't think, even if it dies out for a little bit, it'll never fully come and like die out. It'll always come back at least I would say at least once a format. I could be wrong though. You can't really tell with Konami, but so far from the trends we've seen in the past couple of years, it's been here for us. One Tornado Dragon. This card's actually really dumb. When I saw this card, I was like, holy crap. If this came out sooner than it did, this would be a huge problem. But it's not as big of a deal here soon with Link format. But, I mean, during Link format, you could cut it, I would say. Maybe. That's preference as well. I feel like he's going to be like an extra option, like kind of like Castel. I mean, not Castel, sorry. Or like Cowboy, where it's always going to be that 16th card. Because right now he's really good because you have the extra options, and you can make multiple cards. And, like, especially in, like, with diagram stuff flying around, and being so field spell reliant, if you can make this turn 1 with either this or Dweller turn 1, and then have like Dystopia or Dark Hole to back it up, you're in a really good spot, honestly. And the last card, like I said, Catboy. I was thinking of playing something else like Second Castel or like another option for Poly, but I just figured playing such an aggressive deck, the Cowboy really helps me. I've won a lot of games off Cowboy in my time, and he's always that 16th card, and I'd say in this deck that 16th card is your 15th, honestly, because it's not, like you said. Now, if you play Bahamut Shark Toad, you could easily, I would say, cut him, and you could also probably cut the Diamond Dyer on it, or one of these two. But that's if you're gonna do the Toad. But since I don't have the Toad, these two are staying in, and the Cowboy is staying in. And I don't really have a side deck right now built. I haven't taken this to a tournament in a while, but because that kind of switches, I don't really have a set side deck. It just kind of depends on your locals, honestly, or an event you're going to. But that's it. The deck is fun. Don't expect to do extremely well. Don't get me wrong, you can sneak games in, you will sneak games in. It's still heroes. But it's not going to be as consistent as other decks, obviously. That's about it.